It's the Pete Sousa Show. Sports, Pete.
Nobody tells our stories better than our clients.
The difference is stark. I was rear-ended at a stop. I thought I was fine, and then once I got home, I realized it's a lot worse than I thought. I ended up having a ruptured disc. You say you're not hurting, and then an hour later, you're saying you're in all this pain. I just felt like most people would think that I was lying. And that's when I decided to call Daniel Stark. I owe a lot to Daniel Stark. They really got me what I deserved.
The difference is stark.
We definitely love our relationship and love Extraco. It's been an amazing experience.
They made the PPP process easier. They were reaching out to me saying, what can I do to help you? That made a huge difference because my stress level, when we shut down, to afterwards was night and day.
Our experience with Extraco has been phenomenal since the very beginning, so we love Extraco.
Tervis is all about staying hydrated with style and durability. You can trust Tervis tumblers to keep your drinks the perfect temperature, hot or cold, for hours. From the classic insulated tumblers to sleek stainless steel water bottles, each product is built to last and comes in endless designs to match your personality. Stay refreshed and express yourself with Tervis. Visit tervis.com today and find your perfect tumbler.
Since our founding, we've been revolutionizing hair removal with cutting-edge technology and a commitment to empowerment. The U-Like Air 3, launched in 2023, ushers in a new era of sapphire ice cooling technology, offering nearly painless hair reduction in just 3 weeks. Experience the future of hair removal today at ulike.com, because at U-Like, beauty is about looking and feeling good. That's ulike.com. U-Like. With Ease US, make studio quality voiceovers for your videos online in over 149 languages and dialects, featuring 468 natural AI voices. Customize the volume, mood, and pauses to perfectly match your content. Plus, capture high quality videos with no watermark. Record your screen, webcam, and voice, and save them instantly to your computer. Never been easier to create professional grade videos and voiceovers. Try it today at easeus.com. That's EASEUS.com. Ease US.
Just use AMP-Pace.
AMP-Pace.
It is the Pete Sousa Show. We are live on Labor Day because we labor on Labor Day because the college football season is upon us. Let me get centered up here. Scotty's back in the nerve center back there taking care of business. I think we're looking all right. Let's fix the hair a little. Maybe we'll take the camera down a tiny bit. By the way, you see in the screen there, we're presented by Slovacics. And last week was awesome. We had Craig Way on. And what did Craig Way want to talk about? He wanted to talk about Slovacics. And so do I right now. Hit it up. You're going from Waco to Dallas this weekend, right? Because you're going to take in Baylor and their game against SMU. And we're going to unpack all the college football here in a couple seconds. But you've got to stop at Slovacics on the way. If you don't, you're a fool. Other sponsors, Socorro Family Ford. Of course, our main man, Dan Ingham, right? First National Bank of Central Texas, Crawford Austin Properties. You see them at the bottom of the screen. And of course, Daniel Stark Injury Lawyers. We really were hit with the haymaker here over the weekend. First of all, I'm gonna just real quick, and I'm not asking for Scotty to weigh in and say anything, but it's, you find a guy like Scotty is the producer of my show, right? But Scotty is wildly talented. So Scotty gets pulled in all these different directions. Now, you can look at the numbers, okay? We have right here, the Pete Sousa Show, the fastest growing, quite possibly local, yet national show here is right here on the Rogue Media Network, right? But we're like, I'm the last thing people think about around here. Like, they just had a huge meeting at 8:30, which butts up to my 10 a.m. show, right? So now I'm just sitting here, poor Scotty, yanked in a million different directions, yet again, hardest working man in show business, by the way, one of the most talented as well. Got a chance to meet his parents over the weekend, and you know why he's so talented and such a good guy. Nevertheless, I mean, it's like everything but Pete we're going to focus on, because that's the one guy that just might have his shit together. I mean, it's really unbelievable. Like maybe they'll meet. By the way, they want me to do a 90-minute show, but they don't want to have anybody produce it. So we'll figure that out. I promise. But we want to spend all of our time and resources everywhere else, right? Let's make sure Bois, gets all the attention it needs. But the Pete Sousa Show with Wayne Larrivee from the Green Bay Packers, play-by-play guy, is going to be on today talking about the Micah Parsons trade. But we've got to meet right up until Pete's show starts to talk about God knows what. Like, at some point, somebody's going to figure it out here. Let's invest in this guy and help him go forward, right? I digress. And I hate that. I digress. That's half joking, half serious, by the way. Well, something else that's got me pissed. Something else I love, Scotty. Something else that's got me pissed. But we're going to talk about Baylor Auburn, and we have Wayne Larrivee coming up in 20 minutes. So we'll probably take a break in like 15 minutes because we don't want to mess with his time. Because God forbid, I mean, if you treat Wayne like you treat me around here, trust me, he won't hang around and be on this show. Really, I mean, like I got to keep it together here. So Arch Manning, I saw this coming from a mile away. And if you didn't see it coming, that's okay, because I think the kid's going to be a great quarterback, right? But he's coming. Arch is probably under the most pressure of almost any quarterback in college football right now. And his first start, when you compare it to other people around college football, other great college football players, if you give it some context, it doesn't look that bad. Here's a good example, okay? Peyton Manning's first start, right? His uncle, his first start ever was against Mississippi State. He threw for under 200 yards, and Tennessee lost that game. Another quarterback I was thinking about this morning, Trevor Lawrence, like real slow start to his career, had to battle Kelly Bryant for time, right? Jalen Hurts, I specifically remember him fumbling his first snap against, I think it was USC. Obviously, Jalen Hurts weaves in and out of hardship his whole career up until he finds his way to the Eagles, and they are absolutely unlocked, and so is he, now one of the best players in the NFL. So it's very easy to get wrapped up and caught up in this Arch Manning thing, right? And how he's overhyped, and how he basically, by the way, I still am like caught up in what happened before the show, just so you know. So I'm going to try to press forward here. So Arch Manning is just completely, people are on Sark right now. Right, like Sark, for instance, is someone who didn't call an aggressive enough game. They went for it on fourth down 5 times. I think what you have there is an opponent who won a national championship last year, way too much hype around Arch coming into this game. I mean, it was so flawed. The whole like Arch hype train coming into this weekend, and I was on it, right? I was on the train, right? We had Craig Way on here last week, the voice of the Longhorns, and Craig really illustrated. You know, one thing Craig said though, he did talk about all the hype and excitement, right, around that exciting. I'm getting text messages here. Okay. So as far as Arch is concerned, right? Like going into that game, there was just so much hype and excitement around him that I think the pressure for sure got to him. This is what I was saying, Craig Way. So Craig Way, right? Craig Way comes on our show the other day, and he says, "Hey, this is live. This situation with Arch. We are moving towards the start of a season unlike any other I've ever seen. This dude's been calling Texas football, basketball for decades, right? A lot of hype. National championship one. It was a little while ago with Vince Young, but Craig has seen it all, right? And he did say, yes, the excitement around this team is the excitement now is second to none, right? But I asked him a question at the end of the interview because I don't want to like have Craig Way on here and like do like a gotcha situation. But I said, hey, why did Arch not start last year? Just a simple, boom, question. And he said, well, because Quinn Ewers gave that team the best chance to win. Now, and Craig was like, I wasn't the first person, obviously, that had asked him that question. But his answer was so quick and so direct, it gave me pause to think, you know what, like maybe we're getting a little ahead of ourselves. And we were. And I can also say part of it is, yeah, we put a lot of excitement, a lot of hype, and a lot of attention was focused on Arch Manning, right, to start the season. But it's one game. It's against one of the best teams in the country with Matt Patricia, who's won a ton of Super Bowls calling defenses in the NFL. It's no surprise that Arch gets his ass handed to him in this first game. And I also think I have a vibe check on this. The early start did not help Texas. I just don't believe that. And by the way, Ohio State wanted to play the game later, and Texas said, no bueno. We're not doing that. Chris Delaconte, their athletic director, said we're going to play the game at night or in the afternoon where Fox wants to play it, where it was scheduled to play. So, but I think Texas probably would have done better at night. Just such a slow start. They looked so clumsy and rigid out of the gate. And part of that, I feel like, was that, very early start for Texas. It's starting at 11 a.m. And I was surprised too, and we're going to get into Baylor in a second here, but I was surprised too, just, week one has its share of miscues just naturally, like talking with Willie Fritz last week ahead of the Houston game that I called on Thursday. He's very transparent. Like, we need to make sure that we don't shoot ourselves in the foot too often, because that's how you lose games or play games, play a competitive game against an FCS opponent, right? Now, if you're Arch Manning and you're Texas, you're playing Ohio State, they're going to be ranked number one in the country, right? After that win. So I am like not worried about Arch Manning. The only thing I would worry about, and I think it's the one thing that as a Manning, he kind of has covered, even though he definitely looked jumpy, right? And skittish in that first start, or in that start, to start this season off in Columbus. I think he will respond from a mental perspective and a cool perspective accordingly. I truly believe that. So we're going to find out soon. I think you start off the season. I think they play ULM next, representing Monroe, Louisiana. I used to live there. And ULM is the kind of opponent that you'd like to see Arch start his career as a starting quarterback against, not Ohio State. But that's how it happened. Okay. But I believe that Arch Manning is going to be just fine. And I think the overreaction and the stuff that we deal with in society today, with everybody watching everything, obviously, I enjoy it. I'm a part of it. I'm sitting here with you guys today, but at the same time, I don't necessarily find it appetizing or fair, right, to a lot of these young guys. And like Arch Manning did not ask for this, and he's not going to complain about it because seems like a pretty normal, cool dude. So I think more will be revealed there, as we always say, but I have no concerns about him going forward as a coach. I mean, as a quarterback, I really don't. And I think we're going to see, it'll be nice to kind of have like almost a bye, right? No offense, ULM, but you get my point. We got to talk about Baylor, okay? That game was a real swift kick in the nuts. And I think part of the problem was, and Scotty and I talked about this prior to the game, and I did voice a concern about this, right? Because college football, and again, doing what I do, talking to coaches, college football and the schemes are very complicated, right? Quite possibly too complicated in this day and age. And you hear coaches talk about how we are overwhelming some of these young guys with some of these real complicated, schematic stuff, right? And Dave Aranda, prior to the Ross Dillinger article, really shed some light on it. His new commitment to almost reworking parts of the defense, and making it advanced this year and different this year, right? He implemented a lot of different stuff because, as we know, at the beginning of last year, Dave Aranda took over all of the defensive play calling from or for Baylor, right? Took it away from Matt Pallage. As the head coach, you don't see that too often, but he's like, I'm going to call the defense. Basically, I'm going to coach the defense, okay? I went back to when Matt Rule began his tenure at Baylor. This is 2018, right? Or 2017, I'm sorry, against Liberty. And Phil Snow, as a defensive coordinator, had put in like all kinds of new stuff, right? And this Baylor football team in 2017 wasn't nearly as talented as the Baylor team we're talking about now. I know after Friday night, you might be thinking, really? I promise. But those guys look like, one, they were not playing fast and free. They looked like they were bogged down and they were playing on their heels. Now, one part of that is because Auburn came out and hit him in the mouth. Jackson Dart ran for 130 yards, okay? And that feeds into my point about the defense. He was running into space, and when he ran into defenders, they could not tackle him. You want a defense, and Dave Aranda will tell you this, and Dave Aranda, by the way, has forgotten more about football than I will ever know, but this is something that I was stuck on heading into the game. It was a fear of mine. We talked about it here on this show, and it seemed to come to fruition somewhat on Friday night. Guys were not playing fast and free, and that's what you want a talented defense to play like. You lose Jackie Marshall, probably your best defender at the end of the first quarter. Sure, that's a blow. But that's not, I mean, he can't be like in 100 places at once. Like there were way too many. The defense just looked way too vulnerable all night long. They gave up more than 300 rushing yards. Like I said, Jackson Dart had 130. They had two backs combined for about 150. Now that, to me, I believe this can be changed. And I think it will be. And I think you'll probably hear Dave Aranda talk about it in about an hour when he does his media availability. Simplistically, I think we'll see a more simplistic approach against SMU on Saturday. And I'll tell you, Baylor is an underdog again in this game. And this is another thing. I'm not saying I told you so, because you all know I was on board the Baylor train with everyone. But they're a 3-point underdog against SMU. They were an underdog, right? I'm about to read this in a second, Brian, so hang in there. They were an underdog against Auburn, right? And more than likely, I don't know if you saw, but Arizona State, put it all over Northern Arizona. And that leads me to believe that Arizona State will probably be favored against Baylor. So you got that 1 week against Samford where you know you're going to be favored. But, you know, three out of your first 4 games are home games, okay? However, you're only going to be favored in one of them. So what I'm asking for here, or what I'm prepping you guys for, and I promise you, I did the Big 12 schedule release show for ESPN and the Big 12 in March, right? Or February. And when I saw these first 4 games, I was like, damn, that's not going to be easy. That's just not going to be easy for Baylor. And so I think the good news is, you know, 3 out of these first 4 opponents, you know, only one of them is a Big 12 opponent. So you've really got to stay focused on that. And here's the good news too. Your quarterback at the end of the game, who, by the way, there were flaws in there, but the dude is a warrior. He walks around. I'd love to know, like, and I could probably find out, like, really how he is doing physically. Because you saw the one thing, you know, last year he dealt with the ankle all the time. There was a moment where, boom, he hits his throwing hand, goes down on a helmet. Everybody knows as a quarterback that'll kill you. Sawyer Robertson still throws for 419 yards and 3 touchdowns. And Scotty and I are still in the game with our Heisman bet. Cheers to that, right? But here's another thing Sawyer said, okay? And I think this is super revealing because he's pretty honest, and he'll do like the coach speak or the, you know, just kind of give you the Cam Media answers. But he said, right, which I appreciated and I thought was a window into Auburn's defense. He said, that's probably the best defense we're going to play all year. Now, this is a guy who played against LSU's defense last year, and he played against a bevy of Big 12 schools as well during his conference schedule. I think he knows it when he sees it. And as much as we can mess around and say, oh, this is an Auburn team that won 5 games last year, this isn't all. I was thinking about this as the game was set to kick off. Christy and I went out to dinner because I'm just a great guy. And, you know, even though this big game is starting that I'm supposed to have my eyes on, at the end of the day, I have a wonderful woman who I'm in love with who needs some TLC. And so we hit a quick dinner during the first quarter. We were in Waco, right? We did the pregame show. And I came back and I remember thinking to myself, it was at the start of the second quarter. I remember thinking, I don't know why we all were thinking like Auburn's 5-7 or whatever they were. Like Auburn's 0-0, and these teams turn over so much. This is a brand new team. So like, yeah, you looked at it like Auburn was down, but at the same time, you probably should have looked at it like, hey, like this is a team that's 0-0, a clean slate. And they looked like a really good SEC team. And when you see Alabama lose to Florida State, you think maybe Auburn has a shot here. And the last thing on this I'll say is like, and this kind of finishes my point. Auburn's a good football team. And I don't think this is a bad loss. You were in it till the very end. Special teams, you got to kick the ball through the end zone, guys. And that's something. Go listen to Scam Stewart if you want to hear about that on Locked On Baylor. Cam got engaged, by the way. Congratulations, Cam. All right, we're going to step aside. We do not want to make our man Wayne Larrivee wait. We're going to talk to Wayne all about Micah Parsons. Micah Parsons going to the Packers, what he thinks about that move. And we'll ask him a couple of Jerry Jones questions. By the way, Wayne knows it all. He saw the Bulls dynasty. He called the Bears games. He called the Bears when they won Super Bowl 20 with that amazing defense. This is a legend, and we're lucky to have him. So we'll step aside, and we'll come back with more of the Pete Sousa Show, presented by Slovakics.
Nobody tells our stories better than our clients.
The difference is stark. I was rear-ended at a stop. I thought I was fine, and then once I got home, I realized it's a lot worse than I thought. I ended up having a ruptured disc. You say you're not hurting, and then an hour later, you're saying you're in all this pain. I just felt like most people would think that I was lying. That's when I decided to call Daniel Stark. I owe a lot to Daniel Stark. They really got me what I deserved.
The difference is stark.
We definitely love our relationship and love Extraco. It's been an amazing experience.
They made the PPP process easier. They were reaching out to me saying, what can I do to help you? That made a huge difference because my stress level, when we shut down to afterwards, was night and day.
Our experience with Extraco has been phenomenal since the very beginning, so we love Extraco.
I don't know, if Bubble wasn't here, I don't know what people would be doing, like making PowerPoints or something. Bubble allows you to make it real and for it to actually work. So I feel like Bubble bridges that gap and being able to give people the opportunity to make their ideas come to life really quickly too. I love that I can sit down and build something the way that I think it should be built and have the control over it.
Bubble turns ideas into fully scalable apps. Try Bubble today.
Hi, I'm Jo from Face Theory. You're going to want to have a specific goal for your skincare routine. What do you want to achieve? Active ingredients are really strong, and if you're using too many at once, your skin can get overwhelmed. Don't overspend on products. Choose products that have scientific research behind them. At Face Theory, if you're not happy with a product, just say so, just give us a shout and we'll give you your money back, no problem.
I know you're gonna love this Kodak Dot Plus printer. You guys just connect it to your smartphone and then you're gonna use the Kodak Photo Print app. It's going to print you a 4x6 photo. I am just in awe. I love how these turned out. Also, the printer comes with a free cartridge of 10 photo sheets. I can assure you, you are going to love this printer as much as my family has. You guys have to check it out for yourself.
Streamline event and appointment booking with Amelia's sleek, modern, and fully customizable booking forms. Tailor the colors, fonts, and design to match your brand and seamlessly integrate with your WordPress website. Whether it's for events or appointments, Amelia makes booking simple, stylish, and perfectly aligned with your business. Enhance your booking experience today at WPAmelia.com. That's WPAMELIA.com. Amelia.
When you learn a language with Babbel, you start a journey that takes you further and further. Anytime and anywhere you wish. It's easy and fun. Broadens your horizons and keeps your brain fit. A journey into new thoughts, new cultures, new adventures. So what are you waiting for? Start your journey with Babbel now. Go to babbel.com or download the app.
BadCreditLoans.com is a pioneering service provider that has carved a reputation in the financial industry for its dedication to helping individuals with bad credit secure loans. By making timely repayments, borrowers can gradually repair their credit history, thereby increasing their chances of securing better loan terms in the future. BadCreditLoans.com serves as a beacon of hope for those with bad credit. Simple, fast, and reliable loan application process. And its commitment to responsible borrowing makes it a trusted partner in the journey towards financial stability.
We are back on the Pete Sousa Show, and we are so fortunate to be joined right now by the voice of the Green Bay Packers, the one and only Wayne Larrivee. Wayne, thank you so much for taking the time.
Good to be with you, Pete.
Oh, great to be with you, too. My first question is, when did you find out about the Micah Parsons trade, and what's the first thing you did afterwards?
Well, there were a lot of rumors around, but I just thought it was internet nonsense and never heard anything specific from anyone of any kind of caliber at the Packers about this whatsoever last week. And then I found out Thursday afternoon when the trade finally was announced on ESPN, I believe it was. And so that's kind of where I was. I heard the rumors, didn't think much of it, but boy, what a deal they pulled off.
It was an amazing deal. And for somebody like you who's done this for so long, and you have seen, like I mentioned, you saw the Bears, probably the best defense of all time, Super Bowl 20 up close and personal. You saw the Bulls dynasty, which is just greatness. Now you have Micah Parsons in town on the Packers, and I'm throwing him in there with some rare air, but I just wanted to give some context. What's the excitement level around this Packers team for you, for the organization in the wake of this trade? Because it was already pretty high, I would imagine.
Well, we feel this is a good team going into training camp even, and they've got a lot of good young maturing players. What they needed was another blue chip, and they needed a blue chip guy that could make a difference on that defense, and I think that's exactly what they got. So the buzz has changed completely about the Packers from a team that's good, that could potentially, with some 3 or 4 guys ascending to that next level, become a real contender for the Super Bowl. But when you throw in Micah Parsons, that kind of accelerates expectations for sure. And it also accelerates the level of play on this team. I mean, they've got a blue chip player now on that second level or the outside edge rusher, wherever they decide to play him on this defense. And that goes along with Xavier McKinney, whom they added last year. And they think Devontae Wyatt, a defensive tackle, can really step to the next level and become a blue chip player. That would give them somebody on each level of the defense. And that's kind of a prerequisite to having a real Super Bowl caliber defense.
Well, when you look at Micah Parsons, leaving the Cowboys unceremoniously, obviously, ending up in Green Bay, those are 2 marquee franchises. Have you ever seen a player of that caliber, or we know it's rare? When's the last time in your memory you've seen a player of that caliber walk and end up, leaving a team like that?
Well, you can go back to Khalil Mack, who left in 2018 and went to the Bears from the Raiders, and that was a huge moment there. He was of this caliber, you would say, but Mike is only 26. He's got a lot of time left. He's barely entering the prime years of his career. Rarely do you see a player of Hall of Fame caliber, move like this. Reggie White was the biggest of all the dominoes that fell to Green Bay back in 1992 or thereabouts. So this is kind of in that area. I'm not sure Micah Parsons is Reggie White, but he's not far off.
Take me inside your preparation for the season and for, obviously a player of this ilk coming over to the Packers. As a broadcaster, as someone who, brings it every game and has been doing it for so long, how does this change your approach or your voice headed into what was already a big season?
Well, it doesn't really change preparation or anything like that, but it certainly heightens expectations of all of us. There's no doubt about that. Now, the Packers gave up a very important and good player in Kenny Clark, and he was kind of a stalwart on that defense, especially on the defensive line. But I think overall, his leadership had grown this preseason with this team. And it's still a very young team, but it's a team that now has experienced young players. But Kenny was a big part of that, both on and off the field, and he's going to be missed. However, when you put a talent in like a Micah Parsons, I mean, the possibilities explode in that regard. So Parsons is a good all-around player. I know he's known for the 52.5 sacks he has in 4 seasons, but he's also a very good player against the run. And so I think this is a complete player they're adding to the mix. And obviously, you have to give up something to get something, not just draft choices. In this case, a very important player. Hate to see Kenny Clark go, but the end result of getting Micah Parsons probably lifts Green Bay into another level.
Before I want to get into the Packers, one more Cowboys related question. Who are the Cowboys getting in Kenny Clark? What type of guy? You travel with the team, the team, and what type of player?
Well, they're getting a quality person, number one. And we've known Kenny Clark since he was 19 years old, and he started his career here in Green Bay. He couldn't even drink when they drafted him, couldn't even legally drink. So we've seen Kenny grow over the years. He's a very solid player. Did not have a good year last year, but that was due mostly to a foot injury, and that really impacted him. He gutted it out through the season, didn't complain about it at all. That's the kind of player he is, but it did affect him. Also, they had him at the 3 technique, and he's more comfortable at nose tackle, and I assume Dallas will put him at nose tackle as the Packers had this year. He had an excellent training camp. He's healthy now. He will be an important player for the Cowboys on and off the field eventually for that franchise.
You've seen a lot of coaches grow, right, as people and as professionals. You've got a front row seat to Matt LaFleur. How have you seen him evolve as a coach in his time with the Packers?
Well, he was very young for a head coach in the NFL, one of the youngest of NFL head coaches when he took the reins in 2019. And he also had a domineering quarterback on his roster right there. Aaron Rodgers, who does things a certain way. He's a Hall of Fame player. I think that, LaFleur did what any good coach would do and adapt his thoughts and his philosophy and his way of doing things to the personnel he had. And he had a veteran quarterback. They built a veteran team around that quarterback. They tried for the Super Bowl 2-3 years, Super Bowl or bust type moves. It didn't quite work out. But through all of that, I think LaFleur, the thing that amazed me was how he kind of smoothed into that transition and allowed Rodgers to do what he does best. That led to a lot of wins, a couple of NFC championship game appearances, but also never got off too far away from the base of what he likes to do offensively. When the Rodgers era ended and they began this 3-year process, and they're in year 3 now, you're seeing more of what LaFleur does and wants to do as a head coach, more motion, more under center, that kind of thing for his offense. And I think you're going to see more of that as we go along. They've got a lot of young playmakers they feel like can develop, and he's done a great job with that. But I think last year when they lost Jordan Love for a couple of games and the way they crafted their game plan in week 2 and week 3, and then later on in the season when Love could not finish the game at Jacksonville and they had to change gears and put Malik Willis in there, Matt did a great job of adapting his play calling to fit that quarterback talent. Matt LaFleur is a very talented offensive coordinator.
Yeah, it's been really fun to watch him. Like you said, the adapting is just such a special skill that great coaches have. Jordan Love, I had a chance to watch him work in some Mountain West years ago when he was at Utah State. He was a guy that, I mean, he's delivered, I feel like, over the past year or so. And now you look at it, his odds, it's funny, he's supposed to be the big winner from Micah Parsons because, of course, the odds for the Cowboys or for the Packers Super Bowl kind of drop, so you don't want to look at those. But now Jordan Love maybe winning an MVP is something people are talking about. Realistically, what are the expectations for Jordan Love coming into this year?
You know, the one thing about this team the Packers have built, it's more along the lines of what San Francisco did under Kyle Shanahan and making a couple of Super Bowl appearances. The one thing about those Shanahan teams, they didn't put all their biscuits in the basket of a quarterback. Okay, they have other ways to win games. And I'll never forget the best Packers team LaFleur has had, 2021, number 1 seed, had beaten both teams that would eventually play for the Super Bowl during the regular season. And they had a Saturday night game in the snow against San Francisco. And the Niners came in having beaten Dallas, but Jimmy Garoppolo, their quarterback, couldn't play. I mean, he basically couldn't play. He started the game, he played the game, but he was hobbled by injury. And San Francisco found a way to win that game. And when Shanahan was asked about why Green Bay has only been to 3 Super Bowls when they've had first ballot Hall of Fame NFL quarterbacks for 30 years, he said very simply, they put too much on the quarterback. Well, this team that they've built now the last 3 years, it's not all on the quarterbacks. They have a legitimate top 10 defense. They were a top 10 defense last year, legitimately. They have a running game. They've got a lead back in Josh Jacobs who can grind it out for you. They feel like they have good, developing, emerging talent at wide receiver, and they've got a quarterback they think is very good and a quarterback that can, if they put all their biscuits in that basket, carry them. But he's not going to have to do that. And Jordan Love, I think, will develop. And this is the 3rd year of Jordan Love as a starter. And the offensive coaches that I've respected over the years have said, you don't know about a quarterback till he started for 3 years. Well, this is Jordan's 3rd year as a starter. I think he's going to hit it out of the ballpark. But again, when it gets to January, the Packers will have more than one way to win a football game. Their quarterback won't have to play lights out because they'll have better balance across the board on their football team.
That's great intel there. All right, a couple more for you before I let you get out of here and get back to your life because you got a big week, obviously. Your favorite memories from that 1985 Bears team? Any one stick out?
You know, really, the memory that sticks out is when in the NFC Championship game when Wilbur Marshall picked up that fumble and motored into the end zone. I mean, you could tell then that, they were on their way. But that team, there were so many memories of that Monday night game in Miami, the only game they lost. Unfortunately, they didn't get the Dolphins in a rematch in the Super Bowl. That's what everyone was hoping for, but the Dolphins lost in Miami to the New England Patriots that year in the championship game, and the Patriots ended up in the Super Bowl. But the thing that stands out most about that Bears team is when we went to camp in early July in Platteville, Wisconsin, you knew this was the best team in the NFL. They were determined to win, and there was nothing that was going to stop them from winning. And by the last week in January, they were still the best team in football.
How about Michael Jordan? There's by the way, I love hearing he's going to be at the UNC game tonight, which is great. Everybody's rolling out to see Belichick. Mia Hamm, Lawrence Taylor, all the stars are going out there. I'll be watching that game for sure because we're in Big 12 country. But Michael Jordan versus LeBron. Can you tell the young guys out there, the young people out there, why Michael is so special? Because a lot of people haven't gotten a chance to see him play, Wayne, and all they're going off. It was a great documentary, is The Last Dance. Can you give us a window into that greatness?
Yeah, the thing about Michael is, and Jerry Krause, the old general manager, used to say this, you can argue about who's the best player in the history of the game, but nobody practiced harder and nobody forced his teammates to practice harder than Michael Jordan did. Now, Jordan's arguably the most talented player ever to play, but he's also the hardest worker ever in NBA history. His iron will and the way he led that basketball team, they wouldn't lose. A migraine headache for Scottie Pippen on the Game 7 in Detroit the year before they started their magical run of 3 in a row, their first one. Had that not happened, they probably beat Detroit that day, and maybe they win 4 championships in a row. That was Michael Jordan. He just would not let that team lose. The game-winning shot at Utah, that kind of thing, whatever it took. And he evolved as a player. He was a highlight reel coming out of college and for the early part of his career and a scorer. But what he evolved into was a major piece in that triangle offense in making people around him better. And once he learned that, hey, he didn't have to do it all, that he could trust his teammates. And that took a while. That took several years under Phil Jackson for that to happen. But once he did start investing in his teammates and understanding that they can make a play, that's when Jordan's greatness really began to evolve. And his game, the 3 championships, the last 3 championships, he had become a complete player. I mean, he could dunk and run up and down the floor, but he became a great shooter as well.
Last question for you. What's the one thread as a Hall of Fame broadcaster that you have found that you were committed to as a young guy, as a young broadcaster, and you still see it shine through, when you call games now for the Packers? What is the one thing that you have used as a broadcaster as a tool to be successful throughout your career?
Preparation. It's the most important aspect of it. We go on the air for 3.5 hours without a script. There's no editor. You can't do it over. It's a 3-hour ad lib, and you've got to be prepared for that. And that's something that has been a big part of my career. Preparation. Now, once you get to game day, we're like any other performer. And believe me, it's a performance. What you're doing now is a performance. What we do on the air and play-by-play, it's a performance. And some days you're good and some days you're not very good. And, I believe in biorhythms, and sometimes you have them in your favor and sometimes they aren't. But a lot of preparation can make a bad day a lot better than it could have been.
Oh, Wayne, you're the best, man. I thank you so much for taking some time on this Monday, a holiday. Best of luck to you throughout this season, and really appreciate the time.
Thank you, Pete. Oh, great to be with you. Take care.
You got it. Oh, the legendary Wayne Larrivee. How lucky are we for that? We get some insight on Micah Parsons, and then at the end, I get selfish, right? Take a couple questions for myself. We'll take a quick break. We're going to come back and join you, wrap things up here. We will go 90 minutes, but my producer was working up until 10:02 this morning on other stuff. So we're going to wrap this up and close the show out. We're going to hear from Bear the Truth, too. See what Brian's got on his mind. The Pete Sousa Show continues after this break.
Dive into adventure with Scuba.com, your ultimate destination for top-tier scuba and snorkeling gear. With over 20 years of experience, our expert staff, who've dived everywhere from the Galapagos to the Maldives, provides personalized advice to help you find the perfect gear for any underwater journey. Shop leading brands like GoPro, Aqualung, and Scuba Pro. Whether you're a beginner or a pro, trust Scuba.com for the best in diving equipment and expert guidance. Explore now at Scuba.com. That's SCUBA.com. Scuba.com. At Fullwell, we bring together the expertise of registered dietitians, MDs, and OBGYNs to give you the best fertility support. Our research-backed bioavailable formulas are crafted with your health in mind, ensuring the highest quality and safety. From preconception to pregnancy and beyond, we exceed industry standards with independent testing for harmful contaminants. With our comprehensive practitioner directory, personalized care is always within reach. Fullwell, your trusted partner on your fertility journey. Visit us at fullwellfertility.com. Experience the perfect blend of exquisite craftsmanship and life-changing technology with Gevi. Every product is built with precision, featuring specialized parts that ensure durability, efficiency, and safety. We put every machine through 6,000 rigorous tests to guarantee long-lasting performance. With cutting-edge technology and a commitment to energy efficiency, Gevi makes your life easier, greener, and more convenient. Upgrade your everyday with Gevi. Visit us at gevi.com to discover more. That's gevi.com.
With San, owning iconic furniture no longer requires paying a premium. We use the finest materials like Italian top-grain leather, known for its durability and luxurious feel, and apply meticulous attention to detail in every piece we create. Our replicas are crafted with the same care and precision as the originals, but a price that makes them accessible. With over 15,000 satisfied customers worldwide, we've proven that high-quality furniture doesn't have to come with a high price tag. Explore our collection today at san.com.
At Covers & All, we've revolutionized protective solutions with cutting-edge, customizable covers, tarps, and curtains. Using advanced tech fabrics that are 100% waterproof, UV tear, and abrasion resistant, we ensure lasting durability with hand-sewn double-stitch seams. Our commitment to quality, precision engineering, and customizable options is unmatched. With vertically integrated operations and express shipping, we deliver premier protection at affordable prices. Visit coversandall.com today for the perfect fit, guaranteed to last.
At Open Goal USA, we're revolutionizing training for both soccer and lacrosse with our innovative portable rebounders. Perfect for players of all ages and skill levels, our rebounders improve accuracy, control, and technique in both sports. Built with premium materials for durability and ease of use, they're ideal for training anywhere, anytime. Whether you're perfecting your soccer game or sharpening your lacrosse skills, Open Goal USA has you covered. Visit OpenGoAAALUSA.com and elevate your training today.
Relax with Hemp Delicious. Organically grown hemp, massively blended with delicious organic herbs, responsibly sourced for their holistic benefits. Each sip offers calming, antioxidant-rich wellness. Brewed just for you. Sip the calm with Hemp Delicious. Find your blend at hempdelicious.com.
Introducing Muck-Off's classic pink bike cleaner, powered by revolutionary nanotechnology that breaks down dirt and grime on a microscopic level while protecting your bike's delicate finish. Developed by our mad developer Alex and tested by riders, our products are made by riders for riders. Discover more at us.muc-off.com, where we break the mold to bring you the best in bike care.
Get paid faster with Bill, the easiest way to send, receive, and manage your payments. No more delays, no more hassle. Whether you're a freelancer or a business, Bill makes payments seamless and secure, simple, fast, and reliable. Sign up today at Bill.com.
At the Pete Sousa Show continues. Just some updates for guests this week. On Thursday, we will have the great Sal Palantonio joining us to talk about what else? Eagles, Cowboys. And then on Wednesday, we're going to talk to Craig James. Craig James, of course, part of the Pony Express and a decorated broadcaster. And he'll have something to say about Baylor and SMU. Also, we can chat with him a little bit about his history, right? Playing against Baylor in the old Southwest Conference. That's one of the cooler aspects of this game here. I think a lot of old heads will be able to really get locked in on this one. It feels like a newer rivalry, but really it's very old. And to see these two lock horns, I can remember, I think like it was announced 2 or 3 years ago, and I remember being like super stoked about it. And now it's coming to fruition. Again, Baylor's an underdog. But they're playing a team that won a college football playoff game last year. Lost in the college football playoff, but they made the college football playoff. So, and this is not a team that like turned everything over. So one thing, Bear the Truth weighs in and says this: a bit concerned about the Dave Aranda talent evaluation on this defense. I thought we were much more talented on that side of the ball listening to Dave Aranda. Okay, I have good news. I really believe, and I think Dave will own some of this, that he overwhelmed those guys, and he's got to just let them run free. I think that there's two things can be true at once. Yeah, I do think maybe they're not as athletic as we had hoped, right? Two, I think that they were overwhelmed X's and O's wise. And I think that whether they learn the system better, right, that he's trying to do going into week 2, that remains to be seen. Maybe they will and improve that way. It could get scaled back, which will allow them to play fast and free. Or maybe they're just not that good, to what you said. But I don't believe that. I believe they got some real dudes. And I think Jackie Marshall coming back, being healthy, I saw he is day-to-day. I saw that this morning. So I think they're going to be just fine. The real test comes against SMU. I wasn't so surprised that they had some trouble with Auburn, but they should win in the trenches against SMU. And the tackling nonsense is just nonsense. Like, you got to tackle. And that's just not Baylor. I think that's a lot of talking to coaches this season, right? The one thing you keep hearing, and I heard this from, I've heard this from Houston's coaching staff. I heard it from Stephen F. Austin. And I've heard it from just listening to other staffs talk about moving into the season. Coaching staffs around college football, now they have so much time with these players that when they get into camp, it's almost like an NFL approach. So when they get into camp, they don't go as hard as they used to, because really, like, it's just kind of a run over. Like, they're installing stuff like real defensive schemes, like in February. Houston's defensive coordinator was telling us this. So I think like some of the tempo and some of the urgency has been lost in training camp for these teams and these players. And I think the fundamentals of like getting to the football, I mean, honestly, if you watch Florida State and Alabama, the Alabama guys, first of all, some of them look like they just weren't hustling, which was like very frightening. But it makes perfect sense too, if you think about it. But their angles to the ball weren't great. I noticed this. I was a big angle guy in football because I wasn't that fast. So if I was ever going to make a play down the field, I mean, that was one thing I was good at. I knew I had to really start with the long angle if I was going to have a chance. And these guys were just, there was none of that, and there was bad tackling. And I think we saw the same thing with Baylor. And I think a lot of that is rust. Like, these guys don't hit anymore, dude. They don't tackle anymore. The last time somebody from, I know they had a couple of those scrimmages on Saturday nights, and I'm not there every day, but I got a feeling, right? And one of the other things, too, I learned from being around Houston, and this is a real tip of the cap to Willie Fritz, like, that program, media-wise, is wide open in a really good way. Talking to Fletcher, their sports information director, he was like, I was breaking his balls a little bit because I used to do PR. I was like, that's actually got to be rough on you. They basically have like a lot of access for the media. Like Dana Holgerson was the exact opposite. We know with Baylor, you just don't see much, right? Around the country, you don't see much. And that's pretty cool. The opportunity to go and watch a lot of Houston practices, but everybody knew, right? Like that Houston wasn't hitting that much. And you know, for them, when you start off the season with the Stephen F. Austin, you can kind of find your way. With Baylor, baptism by fire, you're 0-1. So we can hope that some of those fundamentals will improve. I believe truly that it will improve with a dumbed down version of the defense we saw from Dave Aranda. Last thing, we got a big game tonight. TCU and North Carolina. I talked to Wayne about it for a couple of moments. Like, you are going to have Lawrence Taylor there. You're going to have Mia Hamm there. This is all according to Pete Thamel. You're going to have Michael Jordan there, right? That's the headliner. All to see Bill Belichick's debut. North Carolina is a 3.5-point underdog. And by the way, tip of the cap to the Big 12. I know that, you know, obviously Baylor lost on Friday. Colorado lost on Friday. Kansas State had a close call on Saturday. UCF had a close call on Friday. However, everybody in the conference was undefeated on Saturday, and they won to the tune of like, it was by an average of 40 points a game or something they won. It was pure domination. A couple teams that like I'm excited to see, Texas Tech, BYU, Arizona State, they just issued beatdowns. And Iowa State as well. Iowa State issued a beatdown. Rocco Becht is the highest rated quarterback right now in the Big 12 Conference. Second to Rocco is Sawyer Robertson. Sawyer threw for more yards than anybody else in the conference on Friday night than anybody did over the course of the weekend. So there's a lot to be excited about with Baylor, but I go back to the Big 12. Like a lot of the Big 12's tough matchups were not on Saturday. So the conference was undefeated, but like you got to win a game like this tonight. And it really would have been nice if Baylor could have beaten Auburn and Colorado would have beaten Georgia Tech. I am like, honestly, I'm eating a huge shit burger. And I don't mind because I eat all kinds of shit, but I mean, literally and figuratively. But I thought the ACC would not be as good as they have shown so far. So that gives me pause going into tonight. Florida State winning, Georgia Tech winning, Clemson should have won, right? But they lost to a very good LSU team. So, God, college football's back. It's awesome. Looking forward to being back in studio with Scotty tomorrow. But yeah, I'm looking forward to that game tonight. 3.5-point spread. TCU, they just got to answer the bell, right? And we're going to find out how good Bill Belichick. Well, we're not going to find out how good of a coach he is, but we just get to find out like what the hell Bill Belichick looks like walking around on a college sideline. It'll be fun, man. So I'm looking forward to it. I'll be watching tonight, and I'll be with you guys tomorrow. Remember, we got Craig James on Wednesday, Sal Palantonio on Thursday. Filling a couple gaps for the rest of the week, we will let you know. The Pete Sousa Show, presented by Slovacix, produced by Scotty Swingler. We'll be back tomorrow.
It's the Pete Sousa Show. Sports.
We definitely love our relationship and love Extraco. It's been an amazing experience.
They made the PPP process easier. They were reaching out to me saying, what can I do to help you? That made a huge difference because my stress level, when we shut down, to afterwards was night and day.
Our experience with Extraco has been phenomenal since the very beginning. So we love Extraco.
Nobody tells our stories better than our clients.
The difference is stark. I was rear-ended at 70 miles an hour. I was injured, had a concussion. The insurance company, they delayed. They were playing games from the initial conversation. They weren't going to help me. The biggest thing I learned through this is that you can't go through this alone. I called Daniel Stark. They were going to help me and everything was going to be all right. Daniel Stark got me 10 times the insurance company offered.
The difference is Stark.
We are Rogue Media Sports.